hope everything is okay and we could start our podcast. This is the first episode of 2025. And for me, uh, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is podcast Happy at Work. My name is Tatiana Koval. And today we will discuss one of the hottest topic in the modern HR world. This is artificial intelligence. How could we use it in our employer branding activities? And today my guest is Barbara Zych. Hi, Barbara.
Hi there, hi Tatiana, and hello everybody. I cannot see you guys, so so it's strange, but usually how the podcasting is doing. So yeah, hello, nice to see you, nice to hear you. Morning.
Barbara, as usually, I asked my guests to tell a little bit about their professional background. It's maybe something you received from your personal background. I think it's very interesting to new people to know more about my guests because I could see you on LinkedIn, and I hope the old people who will see this podcast in the future also will follow you and see a lot of your activities. It's absolutely wonderful. But please, could you tell a little bit about you?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much for having me. And that's tricky part, I always do the same, like, please introduce yourself. It's really hard job to just try to, use all your experience and mix it into one minute pitch about yourself. So I try my best. So yeah, you probably know me from Employer Branding Institute or even more from EB Stars projects. So that's the event we hosting and the award we organizing. So yeah, I'm in employer branding for 15 years now. So it's a lot. So in HR, consulting, recruitment, different roles for 20 years now. So I'm just only looking that young, but well, maybe not young, but it's a lot of experience. I started when employer branding was on a very, very early stage in Europe. And it was about recruitment marketing first, obviously, and then we shifted to more advanced, let's say, functions like branding, helping to retain people, helping to reach the effective results for the business. So it's really, really it's wonderful journey for me, my team, and all you folks probably who are starting or you probably don't know how it was at the very beginning. So yeah, these days we have we have another big change, disruptive change. We have artificial intelligence, mostly because of generative AI. AI was with us before, obviously, but this is very important change, and we also started to use AI, teach people how to use AI, how to boost the teams with AI. So yeah, and again, 2025 is going to be about agentic AI. So again, the huge change coming. So it's really, really great to observe that and to have, be able to participate in this global discussion about how we can help to develop business with as an employer brand managers, and these days using AI. Personally, I'm from Poland, but I work on a global scope. My hobby actually is doing souping. I don't know if you know what soup is, like paddling across rivers in different places worldwide. I've got my PhD in psychology, and it was like 15 years ago, I think. I started to think how to use quantum physics. This is very strange for somebody working in HR. Later on, yeah, like quantum physics, system thinking, and chaos theory into the research methodology and research of psychology. So it's like, I try to use all these tools and understand how to implement this into the complex area of employee branding and HR. So yeah, that's basically me. And yeah, hello.
Yeah. It's really great. As I think when we decided to start our new year with this year with this very important topic, because I absolutely agree what in the previous year we had a revolution of artificial intelligence and AI in all spheres. And my first question for you about AI. What is the effects could we see from using AI in employer branding? What is the most interesting and important effects when the companies start to using it?
Oh, well, that's a complex question, but yeah, as I said before, I'm a master of complexity. So, well, what we see and what we think, because this is the adoption rate of AI in employee branding is not that much. It's raising, but we still see people or teams being little reserved and reserved to that. So, and different reasons, but it's going to change because either we like it or not, it's going to happen, and it's only our choice how quick and how effective we will be in adopting that. And it's really helpful. But we run employee branding AI boosters for teams internally, or sometimes there are open trainings, and we see that it's starting teams starting to use that. Very different maturity level of that, but once they get it, once they understand, oh, I can use that, I know how to use that, it's really boosting the effectiveness. So that's the first thing. The barrier we see, it's not only in the knowledge how to, for example, use, I don't know, ChatGPT, to help with anything in my job, but how to be creative about how well we can use that, right? Finding the concept, finding the solution for our team this is somewhere where we stuck. And we need some guidance, examples, trainings for that, I would say, because learning how to use AI these days is really, really, really simple. I'm not saying about how to build a LLM. It's obviously not a case, but how to even use them. To learn that is quite easy. Many trainings courses these days are for free, and it's really easy to set up your voice agent, voice bot, GPTs for your brand. It's really easy. Once you see that, you for sure will be able to do that. But you have to find the reason you need it, find the context you can implement that, and then find a way of using data, because this is very especially sensitive data. So yeah, so let's say that's the one barrier. And I'm pretty sure not every company, not every team, not every employer branding team has started to think about, oh, let's use AI and it's going to help us to navigate our brand. So, diving into your question, or coming back to your question, because that's very important, because sometimes people just hear, all right, so this is AI, everybody's talking about AI, let's learn that. And they go into the courses or trainings, let's say how to customize your GPT for your brand. Those are very basic stuff, but it's your team that need to think about, okay, so how we can build our own stuff based using AI tools to help us, right? So, and that's what we call creativity gap. Like, teams are not able to think in a creative way how to use AI. So I would definitely focus on that first, and then we can start thinking about, okay, so how AI can help us. So from my perspective and from our experience, what we see, it's like you can use AI as an employee branding team, let's say all employee branding managers who are going to hire AI agent or AI in general. It's like almost every dimension. We're going to talk about, probably we're going to talk about the challenges with AI and things that AI is not good at yet. But at the very beginning, you can use AI in almost every area and every dimensions. You can go for, let's say we've got three main dimensions or areas like research, creating product, which is about EVP, and activating your brand using different endpoints. So let's say starting from research, you can these days very easily using very simple prompt. You don't even have to know a lot. We don't have to be prompt engineer these days to conversate with Claude or GPT or Gemini. You can just go with the flow with natural language, upload a data set. Just remember it should be a clean one yeah. So you can upload that, and you can ask for different not only analysis but also recommendations. You can use Claude easily to generate a dashboard or things like that about your data. And that's very funny because we've been using data very much when consulting employer brands, and sometimes it took hours or weeks sometimes to run the sophisticated analysis like machine learning algorithms. And these days you can just go for, I don't know, let's go. I've been today at Claude, and you can use that, and it's giving you the output recommendations and dashboards in minutes, literally, right? So it's like this is very useful. You can analyze anything you want in terms of data, like your social media data, your engagement survey data, your ATS data, whatever you want. You can then join them and analyze them together. So it's really, really great. To get the data, it's AI can help as well. You can go and literally record your conversations, your focus groups, your IDIs, however you're doing interviews. You can then, like, our conversation can be recorded, and then AI is doing the job, just transcripting that, making a transcription and analyzing that, and getting you a good quality insights. So this is this is about the time and quality in the same time of your data analysis, right? So this is for your research part. The second is producing the product. The product, we mean, okay, so we need the employment value proposition, which is about not only the tangible elements of the offer, but also archetype or emotions, culture that you need to find, discover, and design to be appealing appealing to your target groups and address their needs, right? So again, to do that, you need to have basic framework. It's like for EVP, but to analyze the research and then get the insight for the EVP itself, but also adjusting it to the local markets, adjusting it to the personas, which is about target groups profiling, then storytelling. That it's just AI is great in brainstorming, bringing you great stories, helping you to find different but yet coherent messaging across these groups. So I would say this is fantastic as well. It's helping. It's obviously not it's not going to replace creative team yet, but let's say we've got a product.
But it could help us to find ideas more effective and more coherent
And this is
to our
important. This is
audience.
important, because sorry, it's like this is important because a lot of creative teams these days, agencies including, they're saying, "Oh, AI is not going to be able to bring us the creative concept." I would say maybe yes, maybe no. It depends how well your prompting is, how well your insights are, how well you are conversating with AI. So obviously everybody knows that nobody in the world knows how the mind is working. So like human mind is working. So AI is not, we are far from knowing how to program AI to be as creative or be as conscious as humans. So it's not the same quality. It will never, maybe not never. Talking about AI, you don't use the word never, but in the like 2, 3, 5 years, maybe we're not going to replicate that, I think, but different stories on that topic. But it's not going to replace us, but it can be helpful. But you need to stick to good prompting and good conversation, being very creative. What do you want to hear? What kind of output you need, right? So this is very interesting, and you can feed the AI with many data, much more data you can feed AI with than a human brain can analyze. So that's a plus. You can, let's say, give it, I don't know, 30 markets, data sets, 60 personas. I'm just, now using my imagination, and then cultural insights, needs that people in particular markets want
semantic of different languages and understanding
different
the tone
languages
of voice of your company.
yeah, exactly. So you can play with that on the same time, right? So it's really, really useful. And then we've got the product, obviously, not only like EVP design, but also it's also about producing the assets. So in terms of assets, let's say the producing messaging like text assets, it's not a problem anymore. It's really helpful. I can be very good with the text and with the coherency of the text, with being creative with the text, etc. We know that because probably everybody who is going to listen that or listening that now is using at least GPT once. So this is a great one. Producing assets in terms of visuals, I would say we're still not yet there for employer branding. It's changing. It's really developing very fast. But we tried, like every week we try to use tools like from Google, from OpenAI. I don't want to give you any names of the tools unless you ask for. But so we're testing that, and when producing videos, we're not yet there, right? But when producing avatars, for example, we can definitely go for that. With producing images, well, I would be very careful with that, but definitely we can upload our by the way, we delivered the first, I think, ever employee branding employee branding AI based campaign. It was recruitment campaign. It was 1 year ago, more than 1 year ago, and we use AI. We use Midjourney to play with the real people and picture of the real shoots from the real people. And when we play with that, it was multi-channel campaign. It was great. So it can be done. It can be delivered, but visual aspects, video aspects, we need to wait, I think, a few months more. But it's only a few months. I don't know. It's like this is changing very fast. And then we've got voice. Voice is very nice when we think about the assets. We can clone the voice of employees. We can, if we have any time, I can share with you or just send you later the examples. In just 1, 2, 3, 5 clicks, these days you can produce a voice agent for your, for example, a job advert, and you can embed that voice agent and let people conversate about this particular job advert, but also your culture, etc., etc. So it's getting more interactive in just a few clicks. By the way, we've done it for our job adverts. So it's one tool. So this is audio, and then obviously we've got the whole talent journey planning, designing processes, embedding the processes that are going to, or they should give you the best candidate and employees experience, right? So this is the great momentum for AI as well, because thanks to AI, we have a personalization, for example, so we can direct our message to a particular, not even target group, particular person using the data of his or her behavior. We can just imagine you can just answer your candidate with the thank you message with the very, very detailed information and feedback, right? So this is one thing from the candidate journey, but also from the employee path. There's many processes, tools that we can boost with AI and go for better experience. And as we know, experiences are well, how to say that nicely? That's the truth. We do not do employer branding for fun, right? We do it for business. Our goal is to bring the results and help the business grow usually, and experiences of your people are the clue to get the better business results. So that's how I understand the whole process. And so as you see, you can find literally for any part of employer branding, either it's designing, researching, or activating the brand, you can literally find tool for that. That's the phase we know for 2024. 2025 is going to be a little different because the agentic AI is coming and being more popular. So is the next level. It will be next level, and then the question will be okay, so what are we going to do for us, right?
Well,
Is anybody
and how to use now we don't have a question should we use it or not, but the question is how to use it the most effective way.
Yeah, that's true. But just one. Sorry, I'm a very talkative person, so just don't worry about.
That's the problem. I have one question for you, because I think we will use AI from day by day more and more. What is the right balance from the perspective of a person, candidate, or employee? What is the right balance between human touch and using real people in this process and AI? Because AI, from one side, this is a tool which helps us as a people to achieve our goals. From another side, if they use only the AI, this is risk for the company to lose the human touch. What is your advice from the perspective of saving human touch, but also have a great effect of using AI?
Yeah, sure. That's a very important question. And especially looking at it, because, talking about 2024, it's like, okay, we've been there, but AI landscape is changing very fast. So let's imagine we're next year or this year, at end of this year, and we are really using AI agents. By the way, I don't know if you heard, but it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, the CEO of NVIDIA claimed that he's going to hire 100 millions of agents and 100 millions of agents this year to help the company be more effective. And they have 20K people hired, right? So this is something, this scale like 20,000 people and 100 millions of agents. Obviously, how we understand agents, it's not like it's like replacement for one human being, right? It's like this can be very small agent working on a very specific area, but yet it's the numbers are very well playing with my imagination, and we should play with imagination. There is nothing left, but this one. So we can very easily can imagine that AI agents, let's call it AI agents, they're not human. They're not replacing human being, but the agents, like a small agents doing small particular things. So we can imagine easily that somebody who is working with AI agentic is going to, how to say it nicely, it's going to, the business itself is going to replace human operating processes with something that is more effective, right? So this is natural force, and I would say it can be good and it can be dangerous, right? As you said. So there should be a balance. It can be good because let's be honest. These days, we barely on the point in a I don't even want to call it history, but let's be honest, we do not sending the right and proper feedback to our candidates. We're fighting with this. We've been fighting with that for I know years, right?
Yeah,
Even let's
yeah,
say we
yeah. It's
started
also one of the every year
yeah.
discussion.
Yeah,
How
and we're
should we
still not
write
yet there.
feedback to
Yeah, we're
to
still not
candidates?
there, and we're still fighting. We're still saying, "Oh, this is going to be the trend, candidate experience, etc." It's that it just sending the proper information to the candidate, and everybody wants that. But I do not know a company that is sending 100% of feedback, or maybe one or two. Yeah, so we haven't been able to deliver that. The question is why, but let's imagine agents, let's imagine agent working on that part easily, effortlessly, and this is going to be nice for candidate, and it's going to be nice for us because, like us, meaning let's say recruiters, right? We don't want to do that because it's very, I wouldn't say boring, but it's very repetitive task. So, and it can be easily automated. So this is good for both sides. And I would say this is a good usage of that. Obviously, we need to navigate what the agent is, when the agent is sending the information, what the feedback is going to be about. Is it going to be positive, negative? What is going to be the reason of rejection, the candidate, etc. So if agent is doing that as an employer branding manager, you really need to be conscious, and you really want to understand how the agent is working and what kind of information about the brand he is or it is sending and when it's sending, right? So what do you have to do? You do not longer have to go to your recruiters, approaching them with a message, oh guys, listen, you have to send this feedback. We have to reach the I don't know, 50% rate, etc. You just need to
But
understand.
you can manage it directly.
Yeah, you have to be very savvy with how it's working and what is the results of the agent actions. And now this is very small part, like agent sending feedback to
Candidate.
candidate. And let's imagine we have in employer branding itself, we have so many processes, like, we barely can imagine that. Once we started to map the processes on the talent journey, including candidates and employees, we calculated this, and it's really minimum. We calculated 500 processes. So let's take this number and let's say, okay, we've got 500 agents working for us, right? So we really need to understand what they're doing, what is the effect, and here is the a tricky part. And I think it's a wonderful thing for employer branders, like employer branding managers, to understand what is your goal, right? Because to navigate agent, to navigate the process, we need to understand, okay, so where we we aiming? How are we going to measure if it's working or not, right? So this is great because for me. But you ask about the human being part. When we think about the agentic AI, in the next few months, or I don't know, maybe 2 years, we definitely will need to navigate how much human touch, how much human interactiveness, how much interaction is needed within the processes the agents are doing, right? So let's say, let's take this feedback process, right? So how can we even know that if in the message, if the message sent to candidate is done by the human being, like human recruiter, is it better than the message sent through to the agent or using AI? We need to check that, but that's really the important part. And we will need to learn how to know that something is better than not. From the latest research, we know that, for example, people who are talking, let's say you're going to the doctor, that's the phone line. So you're working with the agent, or you're calling to the agent, or you're talking with the agent, or with a real person. And this is a surprise, but people prefer to talk to bots and agents because bots have more time, are more patient, can be very informative on a very basic level. Obviously, we're not talking about the deep diagnose, but on a very basic level, like it's like medical interview, right? So they prefer to uh, to talk with bots. So I don't know. Maybe it's going
It's
to
very
be the
interesting.
same with the candidates, right? At least somebody is is going to have the conversation with them. But anyway, that's the one thing I see. We really need to understand where the human touch, when the humans are important, and to understand that it's not like going. We have to forget about, in my opinion, we have to forget about going deep to your candidates, let's say, or people, asking them about, oh, do you prefer that, or do you not prefer that? We really need to use the data, behavioral data from the research. So is it working or not, and what does it mean it's working? Are people assessing us better? Are people the quality of profile are better? I don't know, social media referrals are better if we are using humans versus agents. It's like those questions that are going to be important. I know for some people it might be like, oh wow, this is a future, this is something that is not going to happen in the next 5 years. Just believe me, it's changing very, very fast. And these days we are building the agents for the particular elements. Like we build the agents, set of agents helping us within the agency to benchmark the competitors' landscape, to understand and identify the archetype from the small portion of the website, career website, to bring the social media posting on different channels, etc. So it's like those are small agents who are helping us to understand and build the copy assets, etc. Those agents will be coordinated within one company, this year, I would say, or next year, and they will be working for us, for the employer brand as well. So that's how I see that. And human touch is important, but we need to know and understand and be able to to sell the proofs, like to find the proofs and to sell to the business that it's really needed to have the human touch. So because you know what, it's like the CEO in NVIDIA, he said that IT guys are going to be a new HR managers. It's a crazy idea. It's a crazy idea because they're going to hire, onboard, deploy, train the AI agents, right? So this is a crazy idea. But when you think about it's going to happen to some extent, we need to understand one thing. We will need to prove why we are why we are needed in a company, why human touch is needed, why it's important to have employee branding teams and more. So yeah. This is
Yeah.
this is me talking about, oh my gosh, this is
Yeah, but
I
I
just
think
want to
it's really,
drink,
really good.
right?
My next question for you, it was, what could you say about using AI from the generation perspective, or maybe
Yeah.
for some professionals perspective? Or for example, maybe we should implement firstly when we talk about Gen Z candidates, it's easier for them to communicate and to use AI, or maybe it's for all generation, and about professions. For example, when you talk about IT, in IT companies, people usually are more open to using new tools, and but they can hack these tools. What is your ideas? How could you recommend to prioritize implementing AI for employer branding?
Well, because my previous message was like we need, we
Yeah.
will. There's no other way than using AI, but I don't want to be understood wrong. We are still human. We're going to manage AI agents included. We are still going to sell to human, like our product services,
Mhm.
right? So the business is going to be about human beings. So we have to remember that. So I'm sure it's going to be about how we can augment our work
Mhm.
with AI, and where should we implement that, right?
Mhm.
So that's something that I really believe that. But if you're using AI, you can reach for much better effects, or you can be a partner to your business when talking about how to be more effective, because effectiveness is going to be to be boosted next years, right? There will be some companies that are boosted with the AI. There's some that are left because they do not do the homework, I would say, right? So this is important, and from my perspective, that might be strange. But when you're a candidate, you don't care you don't care that much if your employer is using AI or not. You just want to have to be you have to the message, the right job offer.
Mhm.
You just want to be reached with the perfect job offer in the perfect timing. You want to uh, you want to read it or see it, let's say, in a very
I have one idea. I remember one worked in with different companies,
yeah
and it depends and also from the EVPs. It's important to align your using AI with your EVPs for achieving the appropriate candidate experience. For example, we have some companies which are more emphasize on innovations of modern
right.
technology as a part of their
Yeah,
job. And so I think we could use AI one way and using it more, um,
yeah,
and
improve your EVP.
shaping our process of AI very fast.
Yeah,
If the more I remember, I had one company, and their advantage was what they a little bit old school. So that means we like to have a lot of people to people communication, but I absolutely sure what in this situation I also could use AI for personalization, for helping people who connect. So I think maybe they also should take into account what type of EVP do we have, and
yeah,
start to look on AI from this perspective. And which I ask you from the audience,
definitely.
because it's usually, especially with when we talk about big companies with a lot of audience, with a lot of HR team, it's with a lot of hiring managers in the company. It's difficult to start using AI in one time for all audience, and all touch points. And so what could you recommend? How to plan the projects of using AI for your employer branding for the companies, to make a pilot for one particular audience and then implement for the whole company, or using different tools for different audience. From your huge experience of using AI, what recommendation could you give to the companies who decided to start using AI in 2025?
Well, yeah, great question. First of all, I would start from small steps still. So try not to cover the whole employer branding area. It's like this is not possible unless you have one very solid framework. But even though, start from something small, small steps, and try to map the most critical challenges, but yet very small. Try to understand what your people. Okay, so that's the next step. But try to map the few challenges that you have these days, and AI could help. Or maybe few challenges at first that you have in general, like in employee branding, or your people have in recruitment, onboarding, whatever, connected to employee brand, and map them, and then try to understand if AI can help with that, or if we can use AI for that, because this is really important. Looking at different teams starting with AI, this is the best because you are not overwhelmed with a huge project. At first, you have quick wins. The best will be if the issue addressing is somehow connected to business, or the other teams that employ branding, because that's win-win situation. It's much easier to pitch that pitch that and get the further funding. You can run the pilot using this is wicked. You can run the pilot, and you can mock up or even build your prototype using, let's say, GPT or any other tool that you can access for free. Usually, but most of the tools accessible these days have free trials, and then you can go and pitch to the business, showing them something that is working, some kind of MVP, and say, look, this is working. It worked for small groups. It worked for that process. So, and then that's the best way how you start. Using small steps in huge organizations, right? Because huge organizations are, as we know, not that agile. But yeah, and the second one
Yes.
is the second one will be just go to IT team or AI. These days have AI departments or whatever it's called, and ask them what kind of tools you can use, what kind of platforms you can use. For example, these days Copilot is driven by GPT-4o and GPT-4, so you can play with that. Or maybe your organization. That's my experience with clients. They decided they can buy a license for Teams for OpenAI, for just using the biggest names. So then you can start building your GPTs for your team. That's few tools, but start from something small. For example, last booster we had the team from Intel. That's huge technological company. So they at the booster they were working on the MVP for the technical recruitment leaders to build the GPTs for that is like bot, like conversational bot, to help the technical leaders to formulate the recruitment questions and recruitment content, because they were not that fluent and creative with the how to use EVP in a creative way to build appealing content. So they built a bot that was to help the recruitment leaders to be better with the selling and marketing the job offer. Right. Once they build that, during our booster, then they just pitch to the board, like pitch to the stakeholders internally, to build that the same thing, but using the internal platform, because they software company, so they got something
They can do it
built internally. So it was a very easy, quick one. Concept was there. The issue was not the challenge was not that obvious for employee branding, but it was there. They have this problem, so they tackled that in a few days. So and it was success. I know they're implementing that on a global scale now. So I would say starts from something small, have a quick wins. Do not overwhelm yourself with it. Oh wow, AI is so huge, I cannot touch that. Talk with your people, talk about the tech stack you have internally, and just start doing something, even small stuff.
Barbara, we have a question from LinkedIn audience.
You did. Great.
Yeah. And the question is, should we use AI for some particular area, or it's better to make using AI as a part of the culture and do it for the whole company? So
I'm not. I don't know.
So when we talk, it's for me, it's a very interesting question. We have some specific areas for using AI and use it like a tool. Or should this conception of using AI become a part of a company's culture, and all people start to thinking as it's like about digital culture? Or should we start thinking about AI and using it as a part of our culture, part of our digital culture of a company? So not only here and here and here, but for the total company. Start to thinking, how could you use AI for improving the process in your life? So it's not only I think about employer branding, but for the perspective of a company culture, company changes. It's very, very interesting. What is your prediction or your point of view?
Well, I'm not here to predict anything. Just remember, we do not know the future. That's the best that's the best advice I can give you. As think about, we do not know what's going to be with AI, because then you stay curious and you look for something because this is really fascinating, and that's not set. But that's a great question, and a complex one, but. But from the one perspective, I like to think that AI is only technology, and you still in employer branding, right? So it's like we're trying to do the same, but we have much more powerful tools, right? So you can do things faster in a more creative way. You can be more cost effective thanks to AI, right? So this is one thing. We still do the same. The goals are the same. We want to hire the best people, make them happy at our work, and help business in the same time, right? So this is only the tools that we use to build a product, calling it AVP, and reach the great the guys. But so that's one thing. But what you say, it's very appealing, I would say, but it must be deliverable, I would say. So I know the companies whose approach is like, okay, we believe that we want to be AI first company, like tech savvy company, meaning AI savvy company, and that's our culture. Our culture is about experimenting with new technology. Our culture is about failing, because experimenting means failing. Our culture is about not knowing the future, building the products out of it, or being more effective using that. And this is great and very sexy perspective. I like that perspective, but you need to deliver that promise. This is a promise. Like, let's say you are saying about yourself, okay, so we are a first company. Our culture is about that. You have to deliver that. Your leadership have to be ready to accept the failures, etc., etc. And I know that companies just look for the Klarna's case study. The approach was exactly like you said. Let's give the training for our people. Let's dedicate the time, because this is about a time for experimentation. Thanks to that, let's be the culture based on that. And I know companies like PwC worldwide, I believe, they are focusing on during the onboarding. They are delivering the AI training for every new joiner to be sure that people have the equipment, they have tools to start using AI within the work. But remember, at the very beginning of our conversation, I said the training itself is not enough to start being AI AI first based company. So this is important to not only give people basic training, but also let them and encourage them to experiment with that. The last thing connected to that, because I was thinking about that. Let's say we're going to we will be I think what's going to happen. We will need to rethink our EVP. Let's say there is AI based company, or let's say you're a candidate and you can have two messages from the tech company, let's say. So the first is saying, oh, our company is great because we have 50% of our work is done by robots or by AI. You're going to work with the most, the greatest technology. You're going to manage the robots or manage the AI agents. So we're looking for, so this is one message. The second message in that situation can be, okay, our company is great because we do not hire AI agents. You're going to work only with human beings, right? So this can be kind of
very, very interesting. Yes.
Yeah. So let's say who are you going to apply to, right? And it's like this is something that I think is going to be visible in EVP and employer branding next years.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know answer. For myself. I don't know, but.
Yes,
Yet.
we will look for the situation of the market. And Barbara, but I have my last questions for you.
Sure.
As you say, if you start experimenting, that means you could make mistakes. You will have lessons learned. I know what you are one of the pioneer in the area of using AI for employer branding in the world. And I want to ask about what your lessons learned from using AI in employer branding. What three main advice could you give to all employer brand professionals in the world who, after our conversation, decided to use AI? What?
Wow. I haven't been prepared for that question. Now the quick. I need to. Yeah, but yeah, I know.
What should they pay attention if they decided to?
Yeah, these days I wouldn't say selling skills, because you don't have to have these selling skills to pitch AI to your company, because everybody's talking about that. Every CEO or board want to have AI, obviously. So that's the one thing. I'm just joking, but it's true. It's just magic word that is opening the doors. So the next phase is much more important. It's like first thing, their creativity. Like, this is important. Is how you're going to use AI within your processes, and I told about it today. So I would definitely look for non-obvious elements. Try not to copy anybody. Try not to. Obviously, there are some standards that AI is going to cover, but try to look for solutions. Look for creative solutions that you can use AI. So try to just hire AI for yourself and to tackle the issues. So that's I would say the obvious one, but I really see teams struggling with this part, right? So they want to have the list of tools that they should implement, and that's it, because this is going to bring them result. It's not going to work for you. To some extent, it's going to work for you, but to be really to get the real advantages, you have to be creative and think about the even small things. The second one is obviously we're working with people. We're working in a people area. Our product is about people. Our product is about emotions. So you obviously don't want to produce assets, or you don't want to produce messaging that is not about that. It should be about human. It should have human touch as much as you can, as much as is effective. So look for pieces or assets or even small parts of your process that should be still human, because we are selling humans to humans, and that's about emotions. And emotions and creative part is the latest that AI is going to cover and copy. So I would say think about humans, emotions when you use technology, and in the same time, think about the safety, safetiness, security, because obviously, depending on which part of the world you operate, Europe is the worst, they say. That's not so. Think about the security, safety of the data you are using, either to research or for design or things like that, because that's something that is important. So that's the second part with the technology. And my personal thing, I like the AI and technology in general, but AI especially, it's because it takes off your barks all this boring stuff, like, and it makes you focus on the real strategic part, like what is the mission of the company, what's the meaning of the work people are doing, why should we join a company, why people should join us, why they should stay, right? How to do that. You don't have to focus on, right, let's create the social media post for today, because that's done. You forget about that. It's going to be done soon on a very automatic level, right? You just only need to check if it's coherent across different channels, coherent, that can be checked as well. So by the way, but you really need to navigate your brand in the direction you want to achieve. So this is something that is we're not yet there. Even with AI, with no AI implemented, we were struggling with this, connecting the dots to be on a strategical level. But a lot of efforts were dedicated to creating content, to running the campaign itself, to do research manually. So all this stuff is going to be replaced this year. Like, let's say this year, just to be honest, even if you go to one last thing, go to the Anthropic, which is Claude, and ask Claude one sentence, one prompt, how employer branding is going to be augmented or replaced, but replace is only for us, but augmented with AI, agentic AI, and ask them to give you a dashboard. I've done it today because I wanted to check how advanced it is, and ask it about the dashboard that is going to be produced when you are working with AI, agentic AI in employer branding. So all the measures you're going to see, and all the dashboard, by the way, it is delivered to you in minutes, like 2 minutes, is going about to check if your branding is coherent, if the engagement rate of your people is good enough, on which personas are not performing well, if your EVP is distinctive, on which market, etc. So you're going to be like a strategic consultant, seeing different things that AI is doing for you. And you will need to decide where to go, what to change, how to design the process or the agent working on that. So I'm thinking that that's the last point that the challenge is with the strategical thinking and connecting the dots. We're not ready. Most of the teams I've seen and I talk with, they are still on this very task level, right? They're not going further and they're not connecting the dots. And that's the challenge that we have to address in employer branding. If you want to be, let's say, competitive to AI.
Barbara, thanks a lot for your time, for this wonderful, very insightful conversation. I think we're all, the people from our audience will now know more about AI and start to think about it and how to use it. As for me, I have a huge inspiration from our dialogue. Thanks a lot for accepting my invitation, and this is podcast Happy at Work, and stay connected.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. See you, and fingers crossed for you.